Ray Charles was a giant in the world of soul, R&B, and American music. His funeral was expected to be a moment of unity, a tribute attended by everyone he'd inspired. But behind the flowers and eulogies, there was silence from a few legends. Not everyone came to say goodbye. In fact, 5 of the most iconic Black R&B figures made headlines for their absence. Why did they refuse? Was it personal pain, old wounds, or something far deeper? Today, we uncover the untold stories of the 5 Black R&B legends who made a powerful statement by not showing up. Number 1. Marvin Gaye. When the music world mourned Ray Charles in 2004, fans couldn't help but notice the quiet absence of Marvin Gaye. Though Marvin had passed 2 decades earlier, many wondered if he had been alive, would he have shown up? Close friends say no. Marvin Gaye and Ray Charles were 2 giants of soul, but their paths rarely crossed harmoniously. Marvin, known for his emotional vulnerability and deep spiritual crises, often kept his distance from artists he felt didn't align with his values. Ray, famously brash, unapologetic, and unfiltered, lived a life of contradictions, celebrated for his genius, but controversial for his personal choices. Marvin, who wrestled with substance abuse, the Vietnam War, and his religious upbringing, reportedly saw Ray Charles as emblematic of everything he feared: addiction masked as genius, and charm overshadowing accountability. There were unconfirmed rumors in the Motown circle that Marvin once called Ray a preacher with no pulpit, only pills. Others close to Marvin insisted he held no ill will and deep sorrow, that Ray never sought real redemption, whether it was judgment, hurt, or a philosophical divide. Marvin's silence during Ray's lifetime was deafening, and so, when Ray's funeral gathered industry elites and world leaders, fans couldn't help but imagine Marvin watching from afar, moved, prayerful, and silent, not out of hate, but from a belief that some journeys end where they began, alone with one's truth. Marvin Gaye's absence, hypothetical as it may be, reflects how even icons carry deep spiritual conflicts that fame can't wash away. He wouldn't have come, and maybe, for Marvin, that was the loudest way to honor or resist the legend of Ray Charles. Number 2. Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, was expected to be front and center at Ray Charles's funeral. After all, both were towering figures in R&B and soul pioneers who broke racial barriers and redefined American music. But when the day came, Aretha was notably absent, and it wasn't due to scheduling. Privately, Aretha had long harbored complex feelings about Ray Charles. While she publicly praised his contributions, insiders say their relationship behind the scenes was strained. Aretha came from gospel royalty, raised in the church by her famous preacher father, Reverend C.L. Franklin. Ray, on the other hand, famously abandoned gospel for secular music early on, infusing sacred rhythms with the profane. Aretha reportedly once said, "Ray took God's music and turned it into bar songs." The two often clashed over creative control and artistic integrity. In the 1970s, they were booked for a joint project that never materialized or pulled out, citing differences in direction. She was also privately critical of Ray's open drug use, calling it a betrayal of the black community's image during the civil rights era. At Ray's funeral, many expected a grand performance from Aretha, perhaps Precious Lord or Amazing Grace. But the Queen stayed silent. No flowers, no statement, no song. Those close to her said it was intentional. She believed the funeral had become more spectacle than sincerity. To her, honoring someone meant reflecting privately, prayerfully, and without cameras. In her own words, years later, she simply said, "Some goodbyes don't need a stage." Her absence wasn't a protest, it was a choice. And in the world of soul, silence from the Queen can be louder than 1,000 choirs. Number 3. James Brown. James Brown, the godfather of soul, owed a lot to Ray Charles. At least, that's what the world believed. But when Ray passed away in 2004, James was nowhere near the funeral. No front row seat, no tribute, no eulogy, just absence. And for those who knew the fire behind James's polished smile, it wasn't surprising their rivalry ran deep. Ray Charles paved the road, but James Brown paved it his way. Ray's smooth piano and tender vocals influenced a generation, but James brought sweat, revolution, and unapologetic black pride to the stage. The two often competed for bookings in the 60s and 70s, and although cordial in public, their egos clashed off stage. According to longtime band members, James felt Ray was too accepted by white America and once mocked him by saying, "Ray sings blues like he's afraid to get dirty." There was also bitterness over recognition. James often felt Ray was given credit for blending gospel and R&B, while his own innovation funk was misunderstood or minimized. In a rare candid interview, James said, "Ray Charles was a genius, sure, but he never marched. He never bled for this." The civil rights movement had always been more central to James's identity, so when Ray's star-studded funeral was announced, complete with A-list performers and televised speeches, James reportedly declined with a brief statement, "Let the man rest. I've said all I needed to." Those 6 words were all he offered, but they echoed with decades of resentment, rivalry, and unresolved respect. For James Brown, refusing to attend wasn't hatred, it was a declaration that legacy should be earned, not staged. And so the Godfather stayed away, a legend refusing to eulogize another. The silence between them remained eternal. Number 4. Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder, a child prodigy and one of the most beloved figures in R&B, was surprisingly absent from Ray Charles's funeral. This absence sparked confusion, given their shared journeys as blind musical geniuses and innovators who shaped soul music for generations. Though Stevie publicly honored Ray's legacy on several occasions, insiders reveal a complicated relationship beneath the surface. Ray Charles was a trailblazer, but his lifestyle clashed with Stevie's personal values. Stevie, known for his unwavering spirituality and activism, reportedly struggled to reconcile Ray's struggles with addiction and chaotic personal life. Moreover, Stevie and Ray represented different eras and philosophies within the black music community. Ray's music often carried a raw, rebellious edge that challenged norms, while Stevie's art was steeped in hope, positivity, and social consciousness. Friends close to Stevie say he sometimes viewed Ray's choices as a blind surrender to temptation, something he himself had fought against throughout his life. At the time of Ray's death, Stevie was deep into his own projects and philanthropy, but sources say his decision to skip the funeral was not simply about scheduling. Instead, it was a silent reflection of unresolved feelings, a complicated blend of admiration, disappointment, and personal boundaries. In later interviews, Stevie referred to Ray as a legend whose music touched my soul, but whose life taught me caution. This nuanced view suggests that sometimes respect means honoring from afar, especially when the wounds are too fresh or the differences too wide. Stevie Wonder's absence was not a lack of love, but a protective silence, a blind spot in tribute that reveals the complex humanity behind the icons we admire. Number 5. Donny Hathaway. Donny Hathaway, a gifted soul singer and pianist, had a deeply personal and painful relationship with Ray Charles. Though their music often shared emotional depth and gospel influences, Donny's struggle with mental illness created a gulf between him and the towering figure of Ray. Friends close to Donny revealed that he admired Ray's talent, but was haunted by feelings of abandonment. During the peak of his career in the 1970s, Donny often sought guidance and mentorship from Ray, but was met with distance or dismissal. This left a wound that lingered through Donny's battles with depression and schizophrenia, Donny's refusal to attend or even publicly acknowledge Ray Charles's funeral was less about anger and more about unresolved grief. In the years before his tragic death, In 1979, Donnie wrestled with the pressures of fame and the loneliness of his condition. Ray's complicated legacy mirrored Donnie's own struggles, reminding him of the cost of genius and isolation. Close acquaintances say that Donnie believed Ray's funeral had become a spectacle, a public performance rather than a genuine farewell. Donnie longed for quieter, more intimate ways to mourn, a private reckoning with loss rather than a grand event. His absence was a silent protest, a refusal to participate in what he saw as hollow homage. It spoke to the pain of artists who carry burdens the world doesn't see, and the isolation that can come even in the presence of greatness. Though Donny Hathaway never made it to Ray Charles's funeral, his music continues to honor the emotional truth of their shared soul, a reminder that sometimes the deepest respect is shown in absence.